So usually we go into Revelation. We're taking it bit by bit, verse by verse, chapter by chapter, and it's exciting. Now, just think of what we always talk about, the book of Revelation. So John is on Patmos Island, and remember, there's a lot of persecution going on at this time. Now, when I think of Caesar, don't think of just one individual man. There's multiple Caesars. It was just a title that was given, like president. But it's not just one president. You know, it's different presidents within American history. Same thing with Caesar. So, in the ministry of Christ, when he was alive, the Caesar was Tiberius, and then later on, Nero took over, and Nero was by far the most evil Caesar. Okay, so Christians were running for their lives, or being persecuted. This is what the book of Revelation was written. Okay. Now, years later, there's a guy by the name of, 200, 300 years later, there was a Caesar, there was a guy by the name of Constantine, okay? Now, Constantine, he was Christian, and what happened was he kind of flipped it the other way compared to what Nero was doing, in the sense of making Christianity, you must be a Christian in order to survive, or a Christian nation. And usually for any religion, for any country, it goes downhill from that point on. I don't care what religion it is. Because you always want to give people the freedom to choose what they want to believe. Christianity is not meant to force people to be Christian or not. Now, shortly after that, what happened was that Rome became very weak. Okay, so there's a debate, or not debate, but like people have discussions. What's the most powerful nation in history? Some people say America, some people say Egypt, some people say Rome. The U.S. has been in existence for, 250 years, right? Rome, 1,000. We got a long way to go, right? But it wasn't just 1,000 years, it was 1,000 years of dominance. Okay, now, what happened was there was this group called the Visigoths, and what happened was that they came into Rome and they conquered it, okay? And this was around 410, and people were asking, they were saying, what in the world happened to Rome? And Rome was defeated around this time, so this is 1,000 years of dominance, and people were asking, how in the world did Rome become so weak? Because Rome was always this powerful nation. And the discussion went like this. Rome became weak because of what Constantine did, that all these Christians, the ideology of Christianity was spread throughout Rome, because the Roman religion before was polytheistic. They worshiped multiple gods, but they always worshiped Caesar as God. But when all of a sudden that went away, Christianity came in, and it became so rampant in Rome that this is what people think, it became weak because of Christianity. So Romans blamed the Christians for the fall of Rome because it became weak. So there was this theologian philosopher by the name of St. Augustine, that I'm sure you guys have heard of, okay? St. Augustine wrote this classical book called The City of God. Has anyone heard that before?
Yeah.
The City of God. He wrote The City of God to combat this mindset that people had. And the City of God is pretty much about, for Christians, okay? For Christians, saying that Christians, there is the city of man, and that's the world, that's the country that wherever we're in their context it was Rome, the city of man, but there's also the city of God, in the sense that you are citizens, yes, of Rome, but you are more importantly citizens of heaven, okay? And what he wanted to combat, the ideology, the mindset that Augustine wanted to combat was this, was people going from political idolatry to political ignorance, to extremes. You see? Us as Christians can be in a specific nation and all of a sudden be one way, as far as we're so into politics, we're so into Rome, we're so into our earthly country that it becomes political idolatry. And he's saying we don't want to do that. But at the same time, he wanted to combat the other side that says, oh, we're citizens of heaven, so we don't have nothing, we have no say here on this world, we have nothing. And he's saying, no, that's political ignorance. You as a Christian have a say as far as authorities. You as a Christian have a say as far as politics, and he wants to go to the middle ground. And that's where I believe Christians should be today. Okay? Going from political idolatry, because a lot of people, you can feel it, right? Political idolatry to political ignorance, and you see a lot of that right now. Now, don't for a second think that you have no say as far as politics, as far as the authorities, especially being a Christian. Think of Moses. God told Moses to combat what? Pharaoh. Pharaoh was the head of politics at the time, as far as Egypt. So he had a say. Same thing with Joseph. He had a say as far as where he was. Same thing with Jeremiah, same thing with Daniel, same thing of John the Baptist, how he's confronting Herod at the time, gets his head cut off. But there was always some form of influence that Christianity or any religious system could have as far as politics. So we want to avoid both extremes. And we want to avoid the mindset that, I have no say, I'm a Christian, so I don't say a word. Okay? If you guys know me very well, I'm always about education as far as I believe that Christians should not shut their minds off to politics. Okay? You should not shut your minds off to politics. Some people believe that, when you're in a church, when you're in a Bible study setting, you don't say a word about politics. Okay, I got in trouble my first day of class at Baylor because we have class discussion, and I said Democrat, Republican. That's all I said. I just said, in LA, you go to LA and all these flaming liberals, you go to Orange County. I just made this as a comment. I wasn't even saying anything. Got in trouble because of it, right? Even though political point. I disagree with my professor or whoever, you know what I mean? The reason why, because I think Christians should be educated as far as you having a voice as far as what's going on, okay? So, just basic principles. So we're not going to talk about one verse, or we're going to go all around, okay? Kind of topical today, but more principles of being informed. Us as Christians being informed in the country that we're in, okay? So, I just wrote four principles for us, and there could be more. We can just freestyle it. We could talk on the spot. Obviously, we're taking a break from the book of Revelation, talking about this. Why? Because of next Tuesday. Okay? This is probably one of the biggest elections of our time. Okay? Of our time. It's like what I said in the prayer. I don't think it's Democrat, Republican. I just think it's a battle between good and evil right now, and that's where we're in our state right now. If one side wins, the Constitution is at stake, and it's a domino effect. But we'll talk about it. Okay. So first is this. I wrote: be informed about your current earthly location. Okay. Now, all these points are not in favor of one; they're just general. Okay. So I like to teach people. I like to have people being free thinkers. In the sense that whatever you believe, like for example, I'm not going to randomly, this is the way I think, I'm not going to randomly post a picture of a black square on my Facebook or Instagram. Okay, I'm just not going to do that. Some people, they just go with the flow because they're sheep. I encourage whoever's in front of me, whoever's with me in my life, do not be a sheep. I want you to think very critically. If you're about to post something, know why you're posting. If you believe something, know why you believe it, know how to defend it, etc. I always encourage people to think like this, okay? Don't be a sheep, okay? So the first thing is this, is be formed in your current earthly location. Now, when I'm saying earthly location, remember this. Your ultimate citizenship is not on earth, but it's in heaven. Okay, 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 11. Peter, the disciple of Jesus, says that you're sojourners and exiles. He's talking to Jewish Christians. You are sojourners and exiles, and what he means is you're sojourners and exiles of this earth, meaning you're passing by. Okay, you are just passing by here on this earth. Now, just because you are sojourners and your real citizenship is in heaven, it does not mean you have to be ignorant, completely ignorant of your citizenship on earth. Okay? It's this simple. When people say, I want nothing to do with politics, I hear people, they've never voted. They just don't vote because they think that, my home's in heaven. And look, I put politics in the same level, even more important probably, of someone's physical health, for example. So, I encourage people to take care of themselves. I encourage people to go to the gym, to get some sun, to take care of your mental health, etc. The reason why, because you're a human being. You have a soul, like the C.S. Lewis, I always quote that over and over. You are a soul, but you also have a body. And it's a temporal body, but the point is take care of your body while you're here on earth. You see? It's encouraged. It's encouraged. But don't make it your ultimate priority. You see what I'm saying? Your ultimate priority is your soul. No different from the land that you live on. You see? Also, be informed of the land that you live on as far as what country you're in. Okay? So, remember, your ultimate citizenship is in heaven. You are a Christian. That's your number one identity. You're a son of God. You're a daughter of God. You're a child of God. Remember this. You have more connection. You have more in common with the Christian that is in Papua New Guinea that cannot even pronounce Republican, that cannot even pronounce Democrat, that has no clue about any of these concepts. You have more in common with that person that's a Christian in that country than a MAGA-wearing, Trump-supporting person, say in Texas, but is not a Christian. Okay? Remember that. It's your ultimate identity. Now, I encourage every Christian to be aware of what's going on in their physical location. So, it's ridiculous when someone says, forget about politics. Now, imagine the Christian that's in South Korea. The Christian. Imagine the Christian that's in North Korea. Does politics matter?
Yeah.
Absolutely. One is in a communist area where they can't do this. If they did, they'd probably be killed. One, only a few miles away, is freely enjoying their religious freedom. The biggest church in the entire world, you know where it is? South Korea. I think they've got like almost a million people in that church. Yeah.
A million?
Like just satellite and everything like that, but just one of the biggest churches, right, is in South Korea. But you just go a couple miles north, and all of a sudden there's no Christianity. You go on those, you see those satellite pictures of what the world looks like at night. In South Korea, it's all full of light, and North Korea, just darkness. You see? But remember, there are Christians in North Korea right now. Right now. They clearly know the climate of their political context. Same with South Korea. Think of this, because we're in election season and Trump's doing all the rallies and everything like that. We're just so embedded in our political party right now, right? And I know where we all stand. We're all, you know what I mean? But it really shapes our psychology. But don't let it shape your psychology so much to the point that you have no clue about a Christian that's in North Korea right now. Because remember, you have more in common with that person than the fully conservative Trump supporter, pro-life, etc., but that's not a Christian in Texas. You see what I'm saying? Remember, there are Christians there too. There are Christians in South Korea. Think of this. There are Christians in Canada. But what's the context of Canadian politics? They believe in a 5 political party system. In the U.S., we believe in a 2 political party system. You see what I'm saying? So it changes things. But I always encourage whatever land that you're in, okay? And I'm trying to speak to let's just say there's Canadians here, there's Koreans here, there's Japanese here, there's Christians from Syria. I always want to encourage people to know what's going on. I think through the news we can kind of assume what's going on, but know what's going on as far as the current land that you're living in. What's the political climate for the U.S. right now? We live in a 2-party political system here, Democrat, Republican. Now,
what was the first thing that?
Just be aware.
Oh, okay.
Don't shut your minds off to the land that you're in. So I talk to some people about Canadian politics. They have no clue what's going on. They know more American politics, you know what I mean, because of the news is so loud. But the land that you're in, understand what's going on. You see, be aware of what's going on. A principle I always say to people is, do you remember that famous passage in James 1:19? He says, be slow to speak. Be quick to listen, slow to speak. Okay? Be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. But remember this. Be quick to what?
Hear.
To listen, hear. Slow to speak. I wish I could tell every young person, be quick to listen, slow to post. Right? You see a lot of ignorance that's going around on social media, people posting left and right, and they have no clue what's going on. Okay, so my first thing is this: be aware. Be educated as far as what's going on, as far as the political climate of the land that you live in. This whole mindset is because I'm a Christian, my citizenship is heaven, I therefore have no concept, or I don't need to know anything of what's going on earth. It's ridiculous, right? Remember, if you're a Christian, I encourage you, take care of your physical body. Know what's, you know what I mean? It's the same concept. Know what's going around as far as the surroundings, okay? And this is something that we all know. Second thing I wrote is be informed about religious liberty. Okay? Be informed about religion. Let's all turn to Acts. Acts chapter 4. Acts chapter 4.
What chapter?
Chapter 4. Acts.
I mean, like what verse?
Let's go. Can someone read verse 13 to 22? Acts chapter 4, verse 13 to 22.
Now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were uneducated, common men, they were astonished. And they recognized that they had been with Jesus. But seeing the man who was healed standing beside them, they had nothing to say in opposition. But when they had commanded them to leave the council, they conferred with one another, saying, "What shall we do with these men? For that a noble sign has been performed through them is evident to all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and we cannot deny it. But in order that it may spread no further among the people, let us warn them to speak no more to anyone in this name." So they called them and charged them not to speak or teach at all in the name of Jesus. But Peter and John answered them, "Whether it is right in the sight of God to listen to you rather than to God, you must judge. For we cannot speak of what we have seen and heard, for we cannot but speak of what we have seen and heard." And when they had further threatened them, they let them go, finding no way to punish them because of the people, for all were praising God for what had happened.
Amen. So, if you don't know what's going on, in Acts chapter, so remember this, chapter 2 is the day of Pentecost. The Holy Spirit comes upon all believers. People start speaking in tongues. People are inquiring, what's going on? Peter starts to preach. Thousands of people are saved. Chapter 3, Peter and John are walking through the temple. There's this guy that was born that could never walk for his entire life. He's like, "Hey, you got a couple quarters? You got some money?" Peter says, "Silver and gold I do not have, but what I have I give to you. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, stand up and walk." This man stands up and he walks. You see? And all of a sudden, people are marveled. And they say, "Wait a minute, isn't that the guy that was never able to walk for his entire life?" So, Peter is preaching a second sermon. Now, because of all the chatter that's going around, it makes it to the council of the Sanhedrin. Now, the Sanhedrin, they're like, "Wait a moment, this is supposed to be a Jewish area right here. These people are starting to believe in Jesus because this guy that was unable to walk is now able to walk, and they're saying it's in the name and power of Jesus Christ." So now Peter and John are before this council, and then they're like, they're blown away that it's Peter and John because they know they were uneducated men. And look at verse 18. It says, "So they called them." So this is the authorities right here. Okay, they said, verse 18. "So they called them and charged them not to speak or teach at all in the name of Jesus." Okay, so this is a commandment that the authorities have to Peter and John. Do not preach in the name of Jesus. Now, Peter and John, we would like to say they're law-abiding citizens, right? But look at what their response in verse 19. "But Peter and John answers, whether it is right in the sight of God to listen to you rather than to God, you must judge." Verse 20, "For we cannot but speak of what we have seen and heard." Okay? So, Stop right there. This is what we call limiting religious freedom. Okay? Limiting religious freedom. Right after this, Peter and John, they deny what the Sanhedrin says, and they go to a prayer meeting. And they pray for more boldness, and in essence, to break the law. Okay? So, the reason why I'm saying this is be aware of religious freedom. What I mean is this. Whenever you see government, whenever you see the authorities, how much religious freedom does a nation have? How much religious freedom does a state have? It is possible, again, the Constitution was built on religious freedom. Okay, so when you hear that America is a Christian nation, that's not necessarily true. Okay, you guys know Thomas Jefferson, right? He wrote the Constitution. I don't know if you knew this, but he was a deist. Okay, he was not a Christian. He was a deist. A deist is someone that believes in God, but believes that God left and he's impersonal with this world. Okay,
so he's that?
A deist.
No, I mean the guy that believed that.
Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So again, he's not a Christian, but he's writing this thing down, writing about religious freedom and all this stuff. But I'm telling you, he is a deist. And again, a deist, you believe in God, but you believe that God left this world. So he created the world and he left. So when people say, "Oh, look at the problem of evil, so much evil going on in the world," you can't really blame God as a deist because you're saying, "Oh, just you can't blame God; he left." You see, that's pretty much what the deistic belief is for, to excuse the problem of evil. But my point was that it was based upon religious principles from the Bible, Judeo-Christian values, and put into the Constitution. But remember this: you can believe whatever you want. You want to be a Christian, you want to be a Muslim, you want to be a Sikh, you want to be a Hindu, you want to be an atheist, fine. You believe what you want to believe, you see? But when all of a sudden the government all of a sudden starts to, believe whatever you want to believe, starts to close. And then says, no, actually you have to believe this, you can't do that. That's a violation of religious freedom. So you always hear of, when we talk about the Supreme Court justices, you always want a judge that's a constitutional judge, someone that believes in the Constitution. The reason why people have this type of language is because that's slowly dying down. You see? So for example, the reason why I'm saying this, I'm using Peter and John as an illustration. When the Sanhedrin says to them, do not preach in the name of Jesus, that's taking away religious freedom. You see? Them as Christians says, okay, we can follow God or we can follow you, we're going to follow God. So in essence, you know what this is called? Civil disobedience. Right here. When the law says something, but we say no to the law because we're going to follow God instead. Okay? So, for example, in the year 2020, right? In the year 2020, the virus of COVID-19 came along and all of a sudden everything had to shut down. Now, everyone abided by the laws and says, okay, fine, we're going to, not even the laws, but the opinions of people, and everyone followed. Now, March, April hit, and all of a sudden there was a second wave that came, and people are like, wait a moment. It's only 0.02% chance of getting this thing. What's the point? Why shut everything down? You see? Why shut everything down? Christians that were able to see this says, no, we're not going to shut our churches down. We're not going to shut it because this is a violation of the Constitution. A month before that, you had these Black Lives Matter protesting, marching by the thousands. Some even burning buildings down, some even looting, some even trying to rip down churches and rip down these statues. Pastors that saw this said, no, this is a violation of religious freedom. They can do that, but we can't do this. We're going to meet instead. One of the leaders of this was John MacArthur, not too far from here in Sun Valley. Made national news, an 81-year-old man saying, no, we're going to meet. And mind you, I was at the time, I was at Grace Church like 2 or 3 times a week because the library was open, alumni there, because everything was closed, right? So I'm there, and they built this big tent in the parking lot, this big tent. The reason why, because they originally wanted their church members to meet outside. And their church it's an older church, maybe average age 50, 60, 70. So you see a lot of white hair when you see Grace Church, but I'm talking about thousands of people. They were supposed to be outside, and that's what the church recommended. But in MacArthur, they're supposed to speak inside. It's supposed to be satellite outside. These members said, no, we're going to go inside without masks. And says this COVID-19 thing is political, and what Governor Newsom is doing is a violation of religious freedom. So they committed civil disobedience.
So what happened?
Oh, it's still going on right now. We're in it right now. So what happened? They kept meeting, and then it got national headlines that all these people that were not going to church started going to that church because they were very open about where they stand. So my point, my question to you guys, is that a violation of religious freedom from Governor Newsom? Is that a violation of religious freedom, saying that churches cannot sing, they cannot meet? It is, yes? Is it from Governor Newsom, is it a violation of religious freedom? Yes or no? Yes? 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, what's good about what happened is that at least in March and April, people complied. Because this stuff like this happens every 100, 200 years. So, all right, we have no clue what's going to happen. We complied because we follow the laws of the land. But when people found out, we're like, wait a moment, there's some inconsistency that's happening on as time goes by. It's a violation of religious freedom. So my point, when it comes to Christians in relationship to politics, be aware of religious freedom. You as a Christian, can you exercise your religion freely? Freely. Or will the government say, no, you can't do this? Okay? For example, we go on even more. I believe it was 7-8 years ago. There was this couple in Oregon that had this bakery called Sweet Cakes. I think it's called Sweet Cakes, and they were devout. They were devout Christians, and there was this couple that gave them a call and says, "Hey, why don't you do a cake for us?" But it was a homosexual couple, and he says, "I'm sorry, we can't do that. It's against our belief system. It's against our convictions." That couple took it to the court, and all of a sudden what the judge said was that this business was shut down and they had to pay $135,000. $135,000. Business was taken away, flow of income was taken away, and now they had to pay $135,000. Destroyed their lives. Male, husband and wife, and they had kids. You see? Now, a debate came. Liberals said, just bake the cake. Just bake the cake. Conservative says, no, that's their conviction. That's their religious freedom. They can say no if they want to. State of Oregon says, no, you can't. You see? Question, is this a violation of religious freedom from the state of Oregon?
Yes.
Yes. You see? Again, when I hear liberal Christians, even Christians talk, they say, just bake the cake, come on. But wait a moment, this couple believes in the Bible, and the Bible clearly is against homosexuality. You see, for them to bake it, it would not go well with their conscience. It would not sit well with them. So they said, you know what? We can't do it. We can't do this. Go to someone else that will. You see? What's that?
Sorry, I interrupted.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so the new kind of religious infringement is New York State, and then the synagogues that can't meet. So they're not allowed to meet if there's more than...
What's that?
So in New York, in Brooklyn, synagogues can't meet, so it's all the Jews are being persecuted there.
Oh yeah, especially in Brooklyn. I've known that first of all, on a geographical look at things, it's just bad for Jews in Brooklyn. Bad, because you have these Orthodox Jews, forget Reform. Reform Jews are liberals, okay? Orthodox Jews are all conservative politically. They're the ones that don't, they walk to the synagogue. They don't believe in driving to parking and then walk. You know what I mean? They all walk. That's why if on Saturdays you always see them walking. You're like, why are they walking? Because they don't believe in taking the car that's working. So they walk to a synagogue close to them. So you have them, and you have all these with all due respect, low-income black families, and they don't like Jews. So they're being assaulted left and right. It's just a bad situation for Jews in Brooklyn. This has been going on for years, but especially 2020, right? But not only that, did you know this? But in the state of New York, churches are not allowed to meet in schools. So they banned all. So usually, like churches, when you rent out a church, you rent out buildings. What churches do is sometimes you rent out a school and use a little gymnasium or auditorium. What is it? El Segundo High School. Some churches do that. They rent it out for the auditorium. Can't do that in New York State. You see, some Christians were saying, no, this is a violation of religious freedom. Like, this group can meet and do whatever they want, but we're a church and we can't. You see? So what I'm saying is, within America, we have more of these cases, left and right. Left and right. I think it was in New Mexico. Another couple had a business of photography. And then what happened was that they had a same-sex couple that wanted for them to photograph, to be photographers for their wedding. They said, no, we can't. It's against our religious it's against our convictions. Same thing happened. Lost their business, all that. Same thing.
So none of that could be fought because it was already determined that that's not right.
Yeah. And so
How can that be allowed if that's not right?
Again, it all exactly. So this is why you hear conversations like, we need a constitutional judge. So when RBG died, people are saying, oh, let's get a constitutional judge. You always heard. You would assume that any judge is constitutional, but the reason why people add that constitutional judge is because these judges aren't abiding by it. You see, so this, I forgot who the judge was in the state of Oregon, but it was like this judge personally attacked them. Because of the religious convictions, you see. So same thing with New Mexico.
That shouldn't have happened to that cake. That's against their religion.
No, it happened. I mean, it's like it happened. Didn't it happen at like a bakery near a college? And there's this college, and then it's like they were saying that they were like a racist bakery or something, and they like eventually they disproved it, and then they rewarded like millions of dollars.
Oh, I think it might have been a little different. That I could be wrong. I think it was in Ohio.
Yeah.
So what happened was, and that's not really religious. There was a bakery beside a college, and this for years. This bakery was always supporting this. So whenever there was an event, they'd always go to this one bakery. And what happened was this young African American was stealing in this bakery. And what the person in the store did was they chased after this African American, this kid. And they went outside, and he grabbed him, threw him on the floor, and called the cops. That was it. But the chatter got around that the only reason why he did that was because he was black. And they were like, no, it was because he was robbing our store. He was stealing our store. So the that little narrative went out, and all the Black Lives Matter protests across this bakery, the schools. It was a small little town, so they cut all the funding. The school came on with that. Had to be in the last 5 years. It had to be in the last 5 years. So again, that's not really religious freedom, but it's definitely the Black Lives Matter narrative. But people went on with it, and all of a sudden the baker was significantly hurt because of this whole situation that happened. So again, clearly they were like, no, they didn't care less what color this person was. Point is, they were stealing from our shop. We had to chase them down. But the narrative was, it was because he was black. No. You see, so it was pretty bad. Like, all these people were protesting in front of it, and students were saying, "Don't support this business," and everything like that. Yeah.
A black NICU nurse where I used to work in Michigan sued the hospital because a baby's parents said they did not want a black nurse taking care of their baby, and when I worked in there, we would listen to the parents, whoever they wanted for their nurse, we had to let them have that nurse, we got to choose who they wanted, who they didn't want. That was the thing that we did. So then the black nurse sued for a bunch of money because they didn't put that family with the black I mean, it's kind of, it's wrong, but then it's like the families always got to choose who they wanted, who they didn't want, like specific nurses that of any color, you know? So, I don't know, it's just kind of silly in a way too. When race was involved, it was a huge issue in Chicago because of it. And that was probably like maybe 15 years ago or so.
So she spends all the money and now she's working again. I'm just kidding.
So my point is for us as citizens wherever we're at, be informed, understand what the climate of religious freedom is. All right.
Well, we don't have religious freedom, obviously.
Well, I think, well, in America, America's supposed to be a land where there is religious freedom. That's why they're saying freedom. Like the fact that we're here
I
is,
think we have religious freedom.
yeah.
Are we even allowed to be in the churches right now? Or is it still?
No, I think we have religious freedom, but what I'm saying is the door is closing.
Right.
The door is closing. Now, when it comes to voting, you want to vote for the person as a Christian that will give you the most religious freedom. Who's closing it? Who's opening it? Okay? And so we're going to hear more of these cases. Okay? Let's go to Canada. Okay? In Canada, the Prime Minister is named Justin Trudeau. Now, Justin Trudeau came up with these laws saying that you cannot misgender a person. Okay? So if someone's transgender, and let's just say they're born a male, but all of a sudden they decide to be a female, if I want to be called a she, her, ma'am, you must call me ma'am, she, her. Okay? If you misgender me, due to your religion, that might be 2 years for you in jail.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long.
2 years for you in jail. This is 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
There was this professor from University of Toronto by the name of Jordan Peterson.
Oh, no way.
If you don't know who he is, he's a professor. He was a clinical psychologist from the University of Toronto. No one knew who he was 4 years ago. But 3 years ago, when this whole law came out, Jordan Peterson, who is just dabbling with religion, there's no straight religious Christian conviction, just said, wait a moment. He's a free thinker. He says, that's a violation of religious freedom, and that's a violation of free speech. Free speech. In the sense of, if someone disagrees with that person and says, wait a moment, no, I disagree with you, I can, even regardless of my religious beliefs, even on a biological level, I can communicate that with this person. Right? Forget the Bible. I can communicate on a biological level and say, no, that's a contradiction of science. I disagree with you. I'm going to call you he because you were born a he and you are a he. You see? So what happened was this exploded. Okay, Jordan Peterson went from some no-name clinical psychologist in the University of Toronto to like some rock star. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, no, I totally.
Do you guys know who he is, Jordan
I never
Peterson?
knew that was
Okay,
yeah,
that's the reason why.
Wow.
So 2 years ago, me and my friends, we went to Long Beach Convention Center, and we heard Jordan Peterson packed out the place. Not even, he just guy, suit and tie, just like very like nerdy and like brilliant. Just monotone, talking, just like at a very monotone voice. Auditorium packed, young people. And they're all like this, just sitting up front, and you're like, I want to hear every word this guy has to say. Wrote this book called The 12 Rules of Life, just made. And there was also words going around that he might be fired from the University of Toronto. At that point, people were like, I don't think he needs the University of Toronto. The University of Toronto needs him. So, if you do not know, this is how he became popular, because he was going head-to-head with Justin Trudeau and what was going on. It was so bad to the point he would do public debates or lectures, and you see all these young people, like at churches, banging on the windows, trying to silence him and everything like that, all because he says that is a violation of free speech. It's a violation of religious freedom. That's all he said. He didn't even quote the Bible or anything like that. You see? So... again, is this a violation of religious freedom? Absolutely. Absolutely. Jesus says in Matthew 19, you know what marriage is? marriage defined in the Bible, especially by the words of Jesus, the red letter Bible, right? Is that marriage is between a man and a woman, and the two shall become one. Done. Okay? Male, female, two different genders together, one. Remember, that excludes homosexuality, excludes transgenderism, excludes bestiality, and excludes polygamy. The two should be one. You see? So, understand what the climate is of the authorities of the land and religious freedom. You always want to go for someone that's going to have you as a Christian, you as whatever it is, and having religious freedom. So, again, we can take this topic, that's all we can talk about today, if we could. If we were to go to Syria, Iraq, Iran, we cannot do this. We can't sit around in a circle, open our Bibles, and talk. The reason why is because every single one of those lands believes in Sharia law. Sharia law says it's illegal for these infidels to meet. That is those who don't believe in Islam. So to them, we're the enemy. That's why they hate America so much. You see, because they view America as this Christian nation. You see, but again, there's no religious freedom there. You see, you want to talk about feminism? If you're a female, you can't show any form of skin. You see you go to CVS or Walgreens and you see those hair dye, those kits. And it shows like the lady in her, the color of her hair, and like someone's blonde, someone's redhead, someone's brunette, someone's black hair, and it shows her face. If you go to a store in one of these countries, they take a black marker and they completely color the face away. The reason why, because they can't show skin.
Really? They do that?
Mm-hmm. If you're a female, you cannot walk by yourself. You always have to take another female with you. You see? Polygamy is legal, so you have one guy and they have 5 wives, and the whole point of it is just getting them pregnant or just sexual pleasure, because it's in their religious belief of Islam. If you are a woman and all of a sudden you show your hair, you know what happens to you? 30 years in prison.
In public or?
30, yeah, public. 30 years in prison. You see? So, my point, in those countries, there is no religious freedom. You have to completely abide by the Quran, by that standard. You see? So.
Only those 3 countries have.
Oh, no. There's many more. I just named those are the most extreme ones, for sure. Yeah. So, my point, are there Christians in those countries? Absolutely. But they must be aware of what the political climate, what the authorities, again, the question is, what nation, what land can I have the most religious freedom? You always want to go for the person that will give you as much religious freedom as possible.
Are you talking about the election coming up?
Yes, but from a biblical perspective.
So I assume you're looking at Romans 13 or something?
In a bit. We're looking all over. So the first thing we talked about, Michael, is be informed about the land that you're in. So don't turn your brain off towards it, because a lot of Christians do. And the second thing we're talking about now is be informed about religious freedom. So what person will give you the most religious freedom? What person won't? And we were talking about so many examples. We can go on and on and on and on about these different cases in different states and different countries of cases where religious freedom is the door is shutting. So there's cases where in Canada you can't really, if someone wants to be a female but they're a male, you can't say that they're a male, because I'll be in jail for 2 years. You see, so that's a violation of religious freedom, right? So many cases in the United States, different states. Is where we're seeing that a violation of religious freedom. You see, so we talked about Acts chapter 4, where the Sanhedrin told Peter and John, "Don't preach in the name of Jesus," but they disobeyed them, because remember, I'm saying from the Sanhedrin perspective, it's a violation of religious freedom. They're telling them what you can and what you can't do in a religious sense. You see, so there are certain countries where the same thing happens today. You see, so you want to be in a nation, you want to be in a spot as a Christian where you can express your religious beliefs as much as possible. That's it.
And I was going to mention that there is suppression of religious freedom on big tech platforms.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's like another iteration of, religious persecution. Like, oh, you can't, they suppress your numbers and then all that because they have a publisher status, Section 230 in the law. So if the senators change the publisher status to another status, then they wouldn't be able to do what they're doing. But it's just because they're protected by the law under Section 230. So
Yeah. It's like assisting one another, right?
what?
Like they're assisting them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're assisting big tech companies and everything
Yeah,
like that. So,
exactly.
They're like monitoring everything we're posting and not wanting us to see.
No, it's not that. It has something. It has to do with their status in the law as a publisher. So because of their publishing status, they can monitor what is seen or what isn't seen. So it's like it's a legal standard that Section 230 makes. So if they didn't have that statute, then they wouldn't be able to do what they're doing. So it's like you can. It's like that. So it's like all the stuff that you see on your end, or that we see on our end. It's like all this stuff, and it's like they're doing all this stuff, to our content. But if you boil it all down to what it's actually about, you have to read up on Section 230, and then you'll know. Then it's like, oh, because the big tech platforms are registered as publishers, they're able to do this. But if they change it, then they wouldn't be able to do the things that you see on your end.
What are we looking at though? What on our end? What are you talking about? I guess I don't know.
So it's like let's say you
But
post
not
a
with
Bible
Facebook?
verse.
so,
Yeah, with anything.
so
With any platform.
where we're at right now.
Like social media platform?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So censorship is big.
Right.
People
right.
are being censored.
Right.
And you ask, what's being censored? What specifically is being censored? It's mainly, I'm just going to say, usually what's within the realm of what's conservative Christian
Right.
belief.
Yeah, that's what I said, but you said
So if I can post something.
liberal and democratic, but more
Let's just say
posted.
let's just say I post Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. It's a neutral verse. There's nothing very offensive about it. That would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's just say I'm quoting the same Bible. Let's say I'm quoting the same Bible, and let's just say I quote Leviticus 18:22, where it says homosexuality is an abomination against God. First of all, people will not not like it, but I guarantee you that will eventually get taken down.
Right.
That will eventually get, you see, so
Very
You can take
flagged.
it down.
They'll get
or
flagged.
Limit kind of
So-
block it so people can't really see it.
yes,
Pop
yeah.
up and
So,
things like that.
for example, I posted this most innocent video of Jackie Korzowski. She's a specialist with guns, and she's in Las Vegas. And she just got an AR, and this was because of the whole Vegas shooting. She just got a gun and she says, "All right, guys, this is a gun. Whatever it is, this is a gun. That's it, right? Fine, nothing, no harm, right?" She took it. Says, "Now look, it's innocent, right? Doesn't do anything." This is what a human could do. Start firing it, right? Now, this is what a human could do. And she see how this works? A gun doesn't do anything, but if a human operates a gun, something happens. And then she made this line at the end: the only person that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. That's it. That's all she said. I posted it. It got taken down and said there's misinformation on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, why did that get taken? There's no Bible verse, but it's more in the lines of conservatives were more pro-gun. You see what I'm saying?
But
So
that specific example, what I'm trying to inform you on is that's a social media, or that's a platform. It's a big tech platform. So it's like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that, right? So that they're able to flag it and say sensitive information, whatever it is, whatever the content is, because of this Section 230 status. So they're a publisher.
yeah.
So it's like they're able to say.
So they can get away with it because
so
of that.
They're
able to get away with it.
monitor. So that's what I'm saying is the only reason why they have that power is because of the legislation in the law, or the legal standard in the law. Like, but if they didn't have that and they're trying to change it now, and there's a big lawsuit against Google, and there's other senators. Well, it's like some senators are paid off, and others are like trying to fight for American values. But if they change that status, then they wouldn't be able to, like, you won't have the same problems, like.
Right.
Because it's like they're messing with the election, and it's like, if you search, something on Donald Trump, then it's like all negative reports, or it's like all
They don't
these.
see the positive things.
Yeah, so it's like it's like it's election interference. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah. So again, back to my original point. Peter and John, the Sanhedrin, clearly limiting the religious freedom, but not just religious freedom, but the heart of it, preaching the gospel. My point to everyone here, we spent like 30 minutes on that one. You want to be aware of who will give you as much religious freedom as possible versus who won't. Okay? Are there situations in our day where religious freedom is being closed? Absolutely. This is what I'm communicating to you guys. Okay? So, second point, or third, be informed about ethical values. Okay? Be informed about ethical values. That is, that as Christians, right away when you say you're a Christian and you're a Bible-believing Christian, there's a certain ethical standard that you abide by. Okay? There's a certain ethical standard that you abide by. Who will respect that and who will not respect it? Who will respect it and who will not respect it? We're going to go to Romans chapter 13 right now. Okay? Prophet Michael Johnson. I know, he said it on the top of his head. Romans chapter 13. Can someone read verses 1 to 7? Romans chapter 13, verse 1 to 7.
Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. You want me to go to 13?
Did you go to 7?
Oh, no, not yet. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval, for he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Therefore, one must be in subjection, not only to avoid God's wrath, but also for the sake of conscience. For because of this, you also pay taxes, for the authorities are ministers of God, attending to this very thing. Pay to all what is owed to them, taxes to whom taxes are owed, revenue to whom revenue is owed, respect to whom respect is owed, honor to whom honor is owed.
Look at verse 1.
That's really powerful.
Oh, huge. Submission to the authorities. Look at verse 1. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities. Okay? It's the Apostle Paul. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities. For every citizen, let them be subject to who's ever in charge. Okay? Governors, police officers, presidents, Supreme Court, all that. For there is no authority. Here we go. For there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Whoa. Whoa. So those who are in power right now are there. Why? Because God put them there. Okay? In 2016, Donald Trump became president. Was that because of God?
Yes.
Absolutely. In 2012, Barack Obama became president. Was that by God?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay? Remember, we want to be as free, be people of free thinking as possible. The reason why, because you talk to conservatives, they say, yes, God put Donald Trump in president in 2016. Like, what about Obama? No. Like, wait.
Like Satan ran that up.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a moment. Or if you talk like, people, yeah, Obama was put in by God, but Trump was not. I'm like, wait, no. We have to take this verse, we have to take the biblical principle of God being an ultimate authority and putting people in authority. Okay? And us as Christians, respecting those who are in authority. Okay, so if you're a Christian right now, you must respect and honor Donald Trump. If you're in America, in 2012 and 2008, as a Christian, you must respect Barack Obama as a president. Okay? Why? Because they were put there by God, whether you believe that person or you don't. Okay? Look at verse 4. What was it? You were going to say something?
No, I was just, I have a lot
Go ahead.
to say. I have a lot
Go
to say.
ahead.
So, I mean, even, so then what about there are iterations and, stories of corrupt leaders in the Bible. So then
In the
it's
Bible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then that's one point. And then the other thing I was going to say is that you have to be, I think God gives us this directive because you have to be wise in the times and like logical and reasonable because like the ACLU, they do civil liberties, right? So there was the guy that started it. He basically said, well, if you can't defend the rights of the I think it was like a Nazi march or something like that. So he had to defend their position to do this march, even though he didn't agree with them. He didn't agree with what they were saying, but he was like, well, if I can't give them the freedom of their speech, then I can't give everyone else the free. So it was just, there's a short documentary I saw on it. It was just really interesting because they were celebrating him as a leader in the ACLU because now they're saying that it's changing the way that they do stuff in that organization. But it's just interesting is you may not like what whatever subgenre of thought, you may not like it, but if they can't have their free speech, I just saw a meme or a picture of their witches, and they had this really nasty thing that they said about Jesus and abortion. But it's if you don't let them have their free speech, then it's well, then we can't. So it's as the citizens, we have to kind of let people say what they're going to say, even if it's bad, because it's that's one of the things that we have as Americans. It's you can say whatever you want, even if it's crazy. You'll be looked at as crazy, but you still have to they have the right to say it,
They have the right to say it, but can they defend it? And that's my point. That's another point. So, if for a witch to celebrate abortion, point is that a violation of the Constitution? It is. Remember, it's about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, the fact that you're alive. Abortion is a complete violation of it. Remember, we talked about this that one time.
Oh no, I totally agree.
It's a complete Roe v. Wade was a complete violation of it. The Supreme Court made the decision, we don't have enough, there's no general consensus as far as when human life begins. Yes, there is. But that was their excuse, and then they went on with the whole argument that they did. So again, let's go back to verse 4.
Okay.
Romans 13, verse 4. For he is God, so this is a person in authority, he is God's servant for your good. If you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Hold on. He is what? He is an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. So this is where we have ethics right here. You see, being some form of a judge on God's behalf. So does God believe in capital punishment? Absolutely. Noah's Ark, that was complete capital punishment. But sometimes God, instead of God doing it, instead of God sending water from heaven and drowning all of humanity. Sometimes he'll have another human being do that. And this is where he'll set authorities involved in it. So capital punishment comes in play from here. But ethics. Some people can take Romans chapter 13 and apply it differently. But my point is what Paul was saying was that there's some ethical standard that's happening, that should happen with the authorities of the land. So, when it comes to ethics, when it comes to moral values, us as Christians must be aware of the rulers of the land and their form of ethics to the people. You see? Because us as Christians, can we live in a society where we can live as far as an ethical system? You see? This right here is the big debate in America. Okay? Huge debate. This right here. Ethics. Moral values. Can we name some subjects from the top of our head that cause so much controversy when it comes to ethics? Ethics. So capitalism, socialism, that's more finance, economics, but ethics, living in a certain conduct. Any issues that comes to your mind?
Yeah, what was the whole what's it called, the senior citizen suicide?
Senior citizen suicide.
Yeah.
Euthanasia.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good. So euthanasia. Some people believe that's permissible. It's okay. It's not even necessarily senior citizen. It's someone that's in pain, that's suffering from chronic pain. They just want to die on the spot. So have you guys seen $1 Million Child or a $1 Million Baby? It's about a female boxer that becomes a quadriplegic. Won an Oscar, but she becomes quadriplegic and she just wants to commit suicide. Tries biting her tongue to bleed her death so she could suffocate in her blood, but they took that away, and eventually her coach came and did it for her, made her be free to kill herself. So again, ethics.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, who's the actor? Clint Eastwood was the actor, was a coach. Right? As a boxing coach, I would say no, don't do that. It's a boxing female boxer. But euthanasia is one. Abortion. We say abortion. Capital punishment. LGBTQ. All ethics. Do this. Don't do this. These are topics that are so heated right now. You see, even in the church. Forget politics. Even the church. But we want to be biblical Christians. Christians that take the Bible and live in a certain ethical standard, live in a certain ethical way. Now, which person will make a nation as ethical as possible through the laws that they're implementing on the people, and which people are not? You want to take the person that will make a nation, that will make a state, that will make a country the most ethical by what they're implementing upon the people. Okay? And this is what Romans 13 is all about. The rulers of the land should be doing that stuff. Okay? Any questions?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so relevant that God would have His word written and then be relevant to this day with this chapter, because it just, it talks about resists, and that's what the people who are who want to go against the rule and authority of a new president, because that was their whole marketing text, resist, but it's God is telling us who the the lawless people, or the people that are
right
against him are these resist.
Yeah, this whole hashtag resist, that's unbiblical.
Yeah.
Just as a Christian, flat out, goes against Romans 13, goes against so many. 1 Peter 2 and 3, many passages. Jesus saying, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Lots of Christians need to abide by whoever's in authority right now.
But it's also interesting that the whole taxes, because that's what we're going through now. It's well, is it ethical for the government to take 62%, where 50 cent would be 20%?
That was hilarious. Oh, that was hilarious. I don't know if you guys knew, but the rapper 50 Cent, when he saw Joe Biden 62% tax, he was like, "Forget that. I don't want to be 20% at 20 cent." Yeah. But ethics, politics and ethics go hand in hand, and you want to be with someone that will have the most ethical system. So you always hear this term progressive, right? Do you guys hear? I'm a progressive liberal. I'm progressive. What the end goal of being a progressive is usually inclusivity, being inclusive, being as inclusive as possible, right? But remember this, and the reason why is because they want an ethical system where anything goes, right? So that's why you're transgender, you're included, right? We want to be as inclusive as possible. That's why we're progressive. You want to be homosexual, that's fine. We're as inclusive as possible. Remember, when we use logic, when we use reason, in trying to be inclusive, you will always have to be exclusive. And I'm saying that to the person that's a progressive. The reason why, how far will we go with this whole progressive thing? All right, well, let's be inclusive as possible. What about the pedophile? That's up for debate now. What about the terrorist that wants to kill homosexuals? That's a Muslim. Is that up for debate? You want to be how inclusive do you want to be? Not only that, but when you're trying to be inclusive, what's going on? They're excluding people of the Bible. You see, that's why the enemy is the person that's a straight conservative male that believes in the Bible. They're excluding them. You see what I'm saying? So no matter what ethical system, that ethical system being a progressive will eventually self-destruct.
Yeah, I think what's sad though is that people are starting to connect politics to salvation.
Oh,
So I think that's like the new thing. So if you're
yeah,
Republican, you're Christian, if you're not,
Yeah.
and it's all being wrapped in one. And
Yeah, so
it's never like came to my mind. Like, here, you're doing a
exactly. No, we opened up when I'm saying understand the land that you live in. I was, you weren't here for that. I was saying you want to know the land that you live in, and exactly the reason why we think that is because we're in America. So what about Canada that has a 5 political party system? You see, here there's 2, Democrat, Republican. Canada there's 5.
Yeah.
What about being a Christian in North Korea versus South Korea? So we were talking about this earlier in the sense that we have this psychology, we have this frame of thinking because we're in America. Like it's the global news. You know what I mean? But again, we talked about Constantine and like different times of church history. You're the number one identity, number one citizen. We're citizens of heaven. That should be our psychology. That should be our frame of thinking. And what I was saying is we want to avoid political idolatry and versus political ignorance. We want to be in the middle.
Yeah.
So people, they're all about so remember this. Again, Michael made a good point. Don't think that the Republican Party is the Christian Party. That's not true. The Republican justice is the one that approved Roe v. Wade. Okay, so remember that. A Republican justice approved Roe v. Wade. It could have been overturned in '92 with Planned Parenthood versus Casey, but another Republican justice blocked that off too. You see what I'm saying? So don't think the Republican Party is the Christian Party. There's a lot of people that were Republican that were just not good. You see? Go ahead.
But I'm not disputing that, and I know that would be a fallacy, like to think that it's the Christian Party. But earlier in America, during the 1800s, it's like the Republicans were the abolitionists.
Right. Absolutely.
So it's like it does have its. I'm not saying that like I'm sure like there were Democrats that were Christians too, but it's like they were the ones who were anti-slavery. So it's like.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of weird how, like, moving forward in history and time, like, everything gets sort of, like, there's, like, this kind of, like, whirlwind of, like, ideas and thoughts, and so no one really, or a lot of people don't really know, like, kind of how it's all playing out, I guess. Because there are facts in the histories of things, but
like remember Abraham Lincoln? His whole thing was fighting was fighting racism and slavery. You know what I mean? Like this is why the Republican Party started. It's like anti-slavery. We want blacks to be free. KKK. They were Democrats. Again, but what I'm saying, what I'm trying to communicate, I don't want people to be like, they're really, they attach the two of them together. It's like what I was saying. We identify more with the Christian that's in Nigeria right now running for his life, and they have no clue about Democrat, Republican. We have more in common with that person, with the Republican, pro-life, capitalist person that's all about religious freedom, but is not a Christian. You see? We have more in common with the person in Nigeria, the fact that they're a Christian. Okay? We have more in common with that person. That's family right there. That's family. Someone could be Republican, conservative, all that stuff, but not a Christian? No, we're more in common with the person that's a Christian, has zero understanding of what politics is.
So it's like what Michael's saying is like, it's like when someone has a leaning toward one political ideology or party, it's sort of like a sense of like salvation, or it's like
they'll say if the guy is like our guy or woman is against abortion, against the community, but then beats his wife.
Exactly.
Right. We're like taking two sins and making them big, which they are big. We're against them, but just like that. I think God is also the same as God says. So I think we just have to be careful in politics not to get too mixed up into
Yeah.
one party.
It's like, because you walked in late, we opened up by that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just avoid political idolatry versus political ignorance. People, they just don't associate with politics because like, oh, my citizenship's in heaven. I want to. No, you want to be. You
gotta be educated.
You want to be educated what's going on, but you don't want to make it like your ultimate identity. And that's what I'm saying. What we're trying to do is go for the middle ground. So all the points I'm talking about is not, here's 5 ways how to be a conservative, or here's 5, you know what I mean? It's just more from the biblical principles. So like, this is the principle of understand the ethical system. That's fine. We're Christians. We believe in ethics, right? But what party or whatever government that we're in, if we're in China, if we're in North Korea, if we're in Iraq, what are they implementing as far as ethics? You see, and we want a government. We want that's in consistency with what we could do. You see, I know it's 8 o'clock. One more point, okay? One more point. And this is the most powerful thing right here. Be informed about who's in control. Okay, be informed about who is in control.
Can you go over the 4 real fast again, just real fast?
Let me finish the point, then we'll go over it again. Be informed of who's. Let's all turn to Psalm 2. Okay, now. On Tuesday, November the 3rd, whatever happens, have this verse. If any of the verses we talked about, 1 Peter 2, Romans 13, Acts 4, I want you to have Psalm 2 in mind. Psalm chapter, let's all turn there right now. Psalm chapter 2. Okay? Psalm chapter 2. Someone read out loud. I'll read it out. Psalm chapter 2. Verses 1 to 4, okay? Psalm chapter 2, verses 1 to 4 says this. Why do the nations rage and the people plot in vain? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us burst their bonds apart and cast away their cords from us. Okay? So this is some form of evil kingship or evil government that's going on here. And they're against God. Verse 4. Okay? He who sits in the heavens laughs, and the Lord holds them in desertion, which means mockery.
That?
Mockery. He laughs. He's laughing at them. He's laughing at them. Verse 5. Then he will speak to them in his wrath and terrify them in fury, saying, as for me, I have set my king on Zion on my holy hill. Stop right there. Okay? So, no matter what happens, whoever is president, who's ever in charge, I will say, I can see that, you know what the beautiful thing about all these points? I can say all these points, all the content that we talked about today, to the Christian in North Korea. I can say this to the Christian that's in prison in Canada for 2 years. I can say this to the Christian in Syria. And I can say this to the Christian in Texas that has their gun and religious freedom and all that. I can say all of it. But remember this. Whatever happens, This verse is about authorities that are against God. But what's the reality of verse 4? He who sits in the heavens, he laughs. Why? Because he's in charge.
And he already made him.
He's in charge. He puts people. Remember, if we read 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Chronicles, 1st, 2nd Kings, it's all about the kings. And God was the one who's sovereign, putting bad people, putting good people, putting good people, putting bad people. But remember, who's in control? God. God's in control. He is in heaven and he's laughing. The Lord, he looks on them with distortion, with mockery, being like, you little human being, I created you, I put you there. You're trying to go, that's cute. It's really cute. Remember, God is in control. Remember this. Out of any verse, come this Tuesday, as a Christian, I want you to have this in mind. If Trump wins, have this in mind. If Joe Biden wins, have this in mind. If whatever happens, because this is 2020, anything crazy could happen, have this in mind. Have this one verse in mind. Okay? Well, I want to read this out loud. Stay there, okay? Proverbs 21. Let's all turn there, okay? Proverbs 21, verse 1. Someone read that out loud. Proverbs 21, verse 1.
The king's heart is a stream of water in the hand of the Lord. He turns it wherever he will.
One more time, out loud.
The king's heart is a stream of water in the hand of the Lord. He turns it wherever he will.
Look at that. The king, the government, the political ruler, his heart is like water in the hand of God. And God is in complete control. You see that?
Yeah, that's cool.
Powerful.
I never saw that.
Powerful. Herod, in the book of Acts. That's it. We keep going. In the book of Acts, he's speaking. He's preaching. He's talking. And all the people are like, oh, a voice of a God, not a man. A voice of a God, not a man. And it said the Lord, he ended his life. He just fell down dead. Why? Because God killed him. God took him away. That's Herod. That's a person that's in complete authority as far as Rome. Done. Why? Because his heart, his life was in the hand of God. When God didn't like what he did, took it away. It was under his sovereignty. See that? Remember, Psalm 2 is the one verse I want us all of us to have in mind. As Christians, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever country, let's just say some of us move, we do missions, and we're in India, or we're in Pakistan, wherever it is. These points that we talked about today could be communicated to anyone, at any time, in any place. But remember that. Be informed about who is in control, and that's God. Okay? So, you want me to read those points again, Kev?
Yeah.
First, be informed about your current location. Okay? So as a Christian, your main citizenship is in heaven, but it does not mean you have to be ignorant of the current situation that you're in. So you as a Christian, your main citizenship is in heaven, but be informed about whatever land that you live in. If you're in North Korea, if you're in the US, if you're in Canada, if you're in Europe, wherever you are. Second, be informed about religious liberty. How much religious liberty do I have as far as a Christian, as far as my worldview, my beliefs in a specific land? Knowing that there's an election, you typically want to vote for the person that gives you the most religious freedom versus the person that takes it away. Within these last couple of years, religious freedom has been taken away. Third, be informed about ethical values. As a Christian, that presupposes that there's an ethical system. We believe in marriage. Male, female, they should be one. We're against homosexuality. Why? The Bible teaches it. We're for life. These are ethical systems. You see, we are for the poor. We are for the downcast. We are for the neglected. You see? These are all in the Bible. You see? And fourth is...
What was the third one? Sorry.
Be informed about ethical values. Okay? So, if we're in a country where a woman can't, show her skin or her hair, and she's in prison for 30 years, I would think, all right, how can we change this? Could I be some lawyer and fight this? You know what I mean? That's what a Christian should do. And last is be informed about who is in control. And that should be the final point right there, because that's God. Right?